How can you get good phone photos? Taking the OPPO Reno10 Pro Plus 5G out for a spin, and we're talking tips on how to take better pics. Good day, you beautiful people. Welcome to LAZADA's Tech, where we do tech in your life in style. In this video, I'm going to try and answer a question that I get a lot from you guys. How can you take better phone pics? We're having fun with the OPPO Reno10 Pro Plus 5G because we're gonna take the cameras out for a spin as I try to answer that question. Now, why this phone and its cameras? Well, the Reno10 Pro Plus 5G reps a 50 megapixel main camera with a Sony IMX890 sensor, OIS, and an aperture of 1.8. It also has a 64 megapixel telephoto camera that does a 3 times optical zoom and an 8 megapixel wide. For the selfies, it reps a 32 megapixel selfie camera. That means we're getting powerful cameras in this sleek little package, perfect for running around and, practicing our shots. So in this video, all output photos will have been shot by the OPPO Reno10 Pro Plus 5G. And honestly, I'm just trying to switch stuff around with this type of content. I felt like this might be a great idea to go out and shoot, try and answer that question, and test out these phone cameras. So join me as I run around with this phone and try to get us some nice shots. The big question for this video: how does one get those Instagrammable shots with a smartphone? Based on my credentials of testing out a lot of phones and wanting to be cute in photos, here are the stuff I learned trying to take better photos. Tip number 1, perspective is key. So when you say perspective, that basically means POV. And yes, I am vlogging with the front-facing cameras of the OPPO Reno10 Pro Plus 5G right now. I flip it over and it becomes a different POV, and yes, I am shooting with the ultra steady mode on the rear cameras of the same phone. Or switching out the different cameras we use, like for example, this is wide 1x right now, and if you zoom in, it gives you like a different perspective, a different POV, and so on. You get the idea. So many different perspectives can give you many different feels, and it also helps by switching out the angles. So we have one main camera, right? And this usually 1x or where we shoot our stuff on. But then we also have a wide camera on this phone, which sort of gives you a different view of a place, a wider POV, great for setting the scene. And then some of the thing with this specific phone is that we have a very powerful telephoto or zoom camera. This thing can do a 3 times optical zoom, which means even zoomed in that far, you're gonna get really good photos. Now, using all those different camera POVs, you can now come up with different creative shots depending on what you want to show. For example, these are some photos using the wide-angled camera, and as you can see, you know exactly where we are. Specifically for this first one, it already tells you about what's going on and it paints you a better photo of the whole scene. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. This is a wide shot of some lotus flowers, and as you can see, I've taken it via the top view. But switching the angle the camera used to the main shooter of the phone, you're already getting a fresh new perspective. The same goes with this top view food shot. Switching the angle and the camera that I used on the phone just gave you a whole new point of view. And this is my favorite example. This is a boring shot of scenery, but bringing the phone down a little bit gives you a whole new perspective and a way better photo. Now, like I mentioned, you can also zoom in for details. Again, this phone has very good zooms. And well, zooming on something just gives you a different aspect of the same shot. For example, we were exploring the countryside of Cambodia when we happened upon these lotus fields, and in person, these were breathtaking. And I did take a couple of wide-angle shots just so you can see the scale and the magnitude of how nice these fields are. But I also thought that this doesn't necessarily capture the detail of how pretty the lotus flowers were until I zoomed in, and now you can definitely see the detail and how pretty the flowers are. And now it gives you a better photo and a different perspective of these sprawling lotus fields. And that works for a lot of things. Here are just some other photos I took zooming in on the scene and trying to get a different perspective. But even better than just good zooms, this phone can also do good zooms on portrait mode. And that's a whole new perspective right there, but also something that connects to our next point, which is focus on what matters. What's the main point of the photo? What do you want people to look at? Your answers to these questions, that's the main focus of your photos, and there are a couple of ways to enhance focus on something. For example, you can frame the main subjects of your photos, and this can be done by using elements in the shot. So for example, in this first shot, that boat on the river is framed by the shadows all around it. I really like this. This second shot uses the door to frame the main subject of the photo. And so it goes, you just use stuff around to compose a better framing for whatever you want to focus on. Or as I do, you can be quite literal about it. In this photo, I'm using an actual frame to frame me in this mirror selfie that I took. I do this a lot and I feel like it's a fun little photo trick and it gets the point across. And pro tip, there is a grid line option on the OPPO Reno10 Pro Plus 5G, and this will help you practice the rule of thirds just so you're better able to compose whatever photo you're taking. Another thing you can utilize for this tip is the bokeh or the blurring. In this example, tapping to focus on the subject or the focus, literal focus, makes a big difference. So in this first shot, you can see the food clearly and the background is a little blurred, but tapping on the background gives you a whole different focus on the photo. Now you see the scenery and that backdrop better, and focus is more on the interiors of a restaurant rather than the food, which is at this point blurred out. Now I do this trick when I want to focus on non-people things, but if you want to focus on people on your photo, let me show you something. So we're all familiar with the portrait mode on smartphones, which basically is the mode that blurs out the background. But let me do you one better, because this phone has a 3x zoom. That's really good, as you saw in our previous samples. Imagine that zoom with the portrait mode. So as you can see, this is a normal portrait mode photo, and it's nice because the back is blurred and there's so many things happening in this photo. But the same photo with the 3x telephoto portrait zoom isn't that way better. And the same goes even for this OOTD that I have, like that soft bokeh in the background. It looks pretty natural and it just pulls focus to me in this photo. My favorite shot from this whole video is this random take from a balcony, and because there's so many things happening here, like the balcony, the flags, the traffic below, the plants, that nice creamy bokeh and the cutout that looks so natural, it just makes for a great photo that focuses on me. Who else? You get the idea, right? Now to up it up a notch, not only can you do telephoto portraits, you can also do telephoto pro portrait. So if you're the type of person who likes more control in their photo taking, you can definitely tinker around with more settings as you take these telephoto portrait photos. Tip number 3, find the light or lack thereof. So first of all, anytime I take a photo, I try to find the light source and sort of angle my face towards the light, so that means that my face isn't in the shadows. I do that a lot in my Instagram photos. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but that's basically what I'm doing in these photos. And one cardinal rule of photography is basically to have good lighting, because good lighting then ensures good photos. But what's pretty amazing is that technology these days have found ways to sort of get around that and to still produce great photos even in not the best lighting condition. The OPPO Reno10 Pro Plus 5G has HDR capabilities and also AI that, well, you know what, let me show you. So first off, these photos of these buildings are backlit, and normally that's a pretty big no-no. But as you can see, the phone cameras compensated for these shots and they're actually not so bad and they're looking quite dramatic. This next one is a favorite because this was totally shot against the light. This is a zoomed in photo of some tree branch, and normally this would be like not so good a photo because I'm shooting directly against the light, but it came out really nicely. This next one, again, we shot this on a balcony. There really were no proper light sources, and the only thing that I did to get this photo going was sort of angle my face so that I was in front of the billboard across the street, and that made sure that my face was illuminated. The phone cameras and AI did the rest. Tip number 4, tell a story with your photos. The thing with dumps and photo sets these days is that I actually love painting a scene with the photos I post. And so I get a lot of angles angles and varieties, I try to post different types of photos for each set. And so for example, for this set, I posted all shot on this phone as well. And this was just us trying to grab dinner, and we did a mini photo shoot on the way. I'm gonna be posting a wide shot to establish where we are. I'm gonna be posting portrait shots to sort of take nice photos of me. I'm gonna be posting details of the food we ate. So all these different angles and all these different perspectives in one photo set just gives you a nice well-rounded view and paint a pretty literal picture of whatever story it is you're trying to tell with these photos. Now I will point out that because we have all the different cameras on this phone, it's quite easy to do this. Smartphone cameras these days are so versatile that you don't even have to switch lenses or cameras around. You can just use the cameras you have here and you'll be able to take all the different details, wide, zoomed in, macro, you get the idea. And finally, for the last tip, keep practicing. Like I said, these are all things that I personally just learned trying to test out these phone cameras and trying to improve the photos and the sample shots that I take with these phone cameras. There is no one person in this world that came out of their mother's womb shooting photos. Everyone learns and people learn via practicing. Like I always said, the best camera is the one that you have on you always. I mean, this phone is pretty sleek. It's not very hard to bring around. It's very handy, but I will point out that the one thing that keeps me grabbing for this phone is how crazy fast the charging is. This does 100 watts super VOOC fast charging, and that basically means that in the morning as I'm getting ready and putting on my makeup, it charges from 0 to 100 in less than 30 minutes, which means I always have juice to keep taking my photos. And there you go, friends. That was our quick look at the OPPO Reno10 Pro Plus 5G cameras and just some of the stuff I learned along the way and do to take better photos for the stuff I post online. I'm personally impressed by how the cameras performed on this phone. My favorite feature, that 3x telephoto portrait. So good. All details I have on this phone, pricing and availability, I'll link in the description below. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, also please let me know. This is a brand new format, so I'd love to know what you think about it. If you want to see how I use my tech on a daily basis, find me online. That's LAZADA_on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Until next time.